Happy holidays. Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a happy holiday.
The USC Trojans, Notre Dame Fighting Irish rivalry is officially going on pause, at least until 2030. Who's to blame? Why is this happening? What does the future look like? Let's get into all of it right now. Trojan family, what is up, and welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. I'm your host, Ryan Dyberd. Thank you, as always, for making this a part of your day. Let's just get right into it. Ross Dellenger reports of Yahoo Sports that as of this morning, officially, we kind of all knew this was coming. This isn't a huge shock and surprise for anyone that watches this channel or follows LAFB or just has followed the storyline for a year plus now. But officially, the USC Notre Dame rivalry is coming to a pause. There will be no game in 2026. There will be no game in 2027, and likely no game until contract negotiations begin again in 2030. So there is hope that the game could come back at some point, but as of now, USC and Notre Dame will not play in this historic rivalry. So first off, let's just say this. It's a sad day for college football. It's a sad day for college football. This is one of college football's greatest rivalry, but also just one of sports' greatest rivalries. When you think of Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, Giants, Lakers, Celtics, all the great NFL rivalries, Broncos, Raiders, whatever ones you think of, USC Notre Dame is certainly in that fold. I'd be curious where it would rank in all of sports. When you consider just college football, you probably have the game. Michigan, Ohio State is number one. And then after that, you could make the argument USC Notre Dame. Some in the South would say Auburn, Alabama. You would have the, whatever the Florida bigger rivalry that everyone kind of says, Florida, Miami, Florida State, Miami probably is a little big. I mean, there's other arguments, but I think you could certainly argue USC Notre Dame could be in that second spot. That's how historic it is. That's how many years it's been going on. This will now be the only year where this game is not played outside of World War II and the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 when the Pac-12 canceled all non-conference games. So it's a sad day for college football. I love this rivalry. Everyone watching this loves this rivalry. So it is unfortunate, but this is a new world we live in. So let's get into, and I've talked a bunch about this, and I'm sure many of you heard me talk about this, but we'll get a little bit of why this happened, and then what the future looks like, and at least the future as in 2026. So, interestingly enough, just as this was announced, so Ross Dellenger announced this through Yahoo Sports, and within the same article basically announced that Notre Dame had already come to an agreement with a BYU replacement for this game, which will be placed in October. So if the schedule remained the same, Notre Dame would have played USC in November of next year, because it would have been USC's home game, so after Thanksgiving. But they will play in Provo in October. And then there's no date scheduled for the following year when BYU plays in South Bend, but they have a home and away series extended. So what this came down to, and this is nothing new. It's obviously funny when people now, there's a statement in this article, which I'll put the link in here, give him credit. He's the one that broke it. A statement in here that I'll read these two paragraphs. The latest round of discussions among administrators at each school fizzled over the last 2 weeks, a stunning about-face. In fact, the two programs were on the verge of finalizing a 2-year extension of their agreement in late November, with USC agreeing to host Notre Dame next season on the traditional date after Thanksgiving and the Irish hosting in 27. Doesn't say a date, but it says the Irish hosting in 27. However, USC officials determined that the game date was not ideal considering past decisions from the CFP selection committee in punishing schools for losses, especially those late in the season. It's interesting reporting or timing, I guess. And I don't want to take anything from Ross. I think he's one of the best in the business. So maybe I'm reading into this too much. I don't think he was doing anything egregious. But this was what the negotiation has been for a year. This is nothing new. This is not like all of a sudden in November, USC is like, oh, we don't want to play this game late in the season. Look at what's going on with the CFP. Like, this has been the conversation for over a year. USC has been saying, hey, we don't want to play this game anymore in the middle of our Big Ten conference schedule. We want to play this game, but we want it at the beginning of the year, just like every non-conference, non-state rivalry. Because anyone that wants to argue, well, look at Georgia Tech. Those are intra-state rivalries. There's a huge difference. If USC and UCLA were not in the same conference, I guarantee they'd be fine playing that game in November because, I mean, it's in the same, not in the same state, the same city. But anyway. So that's been nothing new. So it was just interesting that kind of this was the statement now. And of course, all different media and talking heads and everyone's running with that of USC killing it in the final hour. But this has been the whole negotiation. So USC has been asking Notre Dame, hey, this is our ask. We can do week 0 in 2026 because both teams have a scheduled day of the weekend of September 5th, 6th. We can kick this off week 0 and then kind of figure it out down the line from there. Notre Dame turned that down. That's the facts. So there's probably more to it than that. Obviously, Notre Dame makes their schedules years in advance, and there'd be a little bit more litany to get through of potentially canceling some other games here and there. So it would be more of a headache for them. Like, I'm not going to deny that. It's not like this is an easy thing. But the offer was there, or at least the negotiations were there for some time. And Notre Dame did not agree with those negotiations for, they have their reasons. Like, I'm not even really faulting it. But that's kind of the way it is. So it's just funny that this is coming out now as like the reason for it when we've known this for a long time. This is nothing new. I've done multiple videos on this. So that's that. It came down to really scheduling. When USC wanted to play Notre Dame at the beginning of the year, Notre Dame did not want to move the game. Both teams were kind of at an impasse. USC essentially, in nicer words than I'll say, said, okay, if you don't want to play something of the year, then kick rocks. And Notre Dame was able to find someone, touche to them and BYU, for how quickly they put that together. And BYU was willing to play them in October. So, so that's that. Who's really to blame? I mean, you can blame both sides. What's really to blame is conference realignment and the college football playoff, as that's the end goal for every team. And the goal is to get to the college football playoff. And when you play in a conference, and all these conferences now, 9 conference games, and you don't have the luxury of picking and choosing who you want to play every year, there's going to be some changes. It's going to require some changes and some strategy. You can call that whatever you want, but that's just what it is at face value, is there's going to require some changes. The other, I think, false narrative out there is the contract ended this year. So this was the last year the game was signed under contract. So negotiations have been going on to extend the series. So anyone out there saying that, USC or whoever is backing out of the contract is not true. Maybe there was a handshake deal or there was an idea that this would get done, but there was no like breach of contract going on with this. It was the contract ended after this game. And then there was an attempt to extend it in 26 with the hope to extend it long-term after 2026. That was always the hope. USC kind of said, hey, let's get a Band-Aid going for this next year, and then we'll figure out long-term when there's more clarity. Because that's the other thing, right? The CFP has changed so much just in its short existence, and it's going to continue to change. Like, will there be at-large bids? Will there be a requirement of, winning your conference? Like, there's all these different requirements they keep kind of, or I should say there's not real requirements and not real knowledge of the actual path to get there. Every other sport has a very clear path. Like, going into the year what you need to do. Now, the path in college football is just to win every game. If you go undefeated, then yes, and have a strong enough schedule in the Power Four, you're in. But there's no actual real clear path of what to do outside of winning your conference or going undefeated. And Notre Dame obviously has a very different path because they are not in a conference. So the other interesting part of this, and then we'll kind of get to the future, is, Notre Dame's the team that canceled the bowl game. Like, they're the team that didn't get what they wanted, didn't get their way, and so decided not to play in the bowl game. And ironically, that bowl game was going to be against BYU. So it makes you think, like, was there some prior money negotiations? Like, okay, we're going to stick it to ESPN by not playing their bowl game, but hey, we'll make money elsewhere. Let's do this in the future. We probably have a game opening up. We're not gonna cave to USC's demands. So we'll just, let's do it with each other. Maybe. Who knows? But the fact that they were announced at the same time, USC Notre Dame ending and Notre Dame already scheduling BYU officially, who they were supposed to play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Maybe just coincidence, but interesting, to say the least. So that's the end of this. We'll see what this looks like in 4 years. Obviously, again, a lot will change from that. Who knows if we even have 4 Power 4 conferences in 4 years, the way things are trending. We'll see with Notre Dame, with their media tour, complaining about everything with the CFP, what their looks like in the future, and if they're in a conference or if they, haven't been penalized by not being in a conference again. So we shall see. The other interesting last thing that just came to me of this statement from Ross Dellenger of Yahoo Sports saying, the date was not ideal considering past decisions from the CFP committee in punishing schools for losses, especially those late in the season. Again, I think that is taken as right now, like this being decided in the last couple weeks. But the teams penalized for those losses were actually happened in the beginning of the year. Notre Dame lost their 2 games beginning of the year. They didn't make the playoff.
Hey, this is Steve Gorman, radio host, sports commentator, former drummer for the Black Crowes. The winter holidays are here, a time for festive celebrations, family gatherings, and ringing in the new year. Whether it's a holiday party, a night out with friends, or just relaxing by the fire with a few drinks, it's a season full of good cheer. But here's something else to add to your holiday plans, a safe and sober ride home. Just like in sports and music, always have a game plan. And the most important part of any plan is sticking to it. If you plan to drink, take that plan a step further. Call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or have a designated driver lined up before the night begins. Drinking and driving is a decision that can change your life and the lives of others forever. A DUI, a crash, an injury. The consequences are real and lasting. So please, for your sake and for everyone else on the road, make the smart choice. Get a sober ride home. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Texas was the other big team talked about. Their big loss outside of, losing to a bad Florida team was against Ohio State in the first game of the season. Even USC, who lost to Notre Dame, that was in October. So it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of weird statements to say. And again, I don't think Ross was doing anything intentionally, but media has a way of doing this, kind of like not necessarily lying, but twisting the truth a little bit in order to fit in certain agendas. I don't think he has agenda. I don't know why he would. But it's just an interesting way to write something when it's something that has been known for a year, but then kind of phrasing it in a way that is penning it on a certain side. Just my thoughts. So in terms of USC, I think now they will be looking for, obviously, another opponent, non-conference opponent. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's an absolute no-brainer, and it's Stanford. And you bring the Weekender back. And whether that ends up being long-term or just for this 2 to 4 year period until you can reassess with Notre Dame. Now, the one hoops to flow there, or hoops to jump through there, is, ironically enough, and I don't know how inked this deal is, but in 2026, Stanford and Notre Dame are both scheduled to play. And Notre Dame has an agreement with the ACC to play, I believe, 5 ACC games every year. So you could put that in the bucket of an ACC game. But Stanford already has 9 ACC games scheduled, and their 3 non-conference games are Hawaii, Elon, and Notre Dame. So there will be some negotiation, obviously, to get out of that game if they wanted this to happen. But for both USC and Stanford, this one makes a ton of sense to get done. You get the locality. You obviously renew a rivalry that is maybe not as historic as USC Notre Dame, but is a very historic rivalry. You know, the Weekender's great. You're not traveling time zones. You're staying within the same state. It's a 45-minute flight. All of it just makes tons of sense to align in that regard and get that game back. So we will see if that is able to happen. I think that's the biggest misnomer is, you know, when you look at the future schedules, like, oh, well, there's no room. They already have this thing signed. Like, these teams can get out of those things. I mean, we've seen it over just the past few months, teams canceling on Notre Dame or them just scheduling this one with BYU. Like, these things are pretty easy to get out of. So it would not be a problem if all the powers that be really want to make it happen. It'll happen. So don't let that misnomer of some people telling you, like, well, they already have all this scheduled. They can't get out of it. Yeah, that's hogwash. They can get out of it. So anyway, that is that. We'll see what happens in the future. But like I said, a sad day for college football, but an understandable day in terms of the state of college football and that we are in today. So blame whoever you want. Let me know in the comments where you sit on this. If you're, I don't know if anyone's happy the game is over, but if you're more just like good riddance, like let's just move on both sides. If you're infuriated by it, whoever you kind of blame for it, again, I think there's blame for both sides, whatever you want to call it. But in reality, the true blame is the CFP and conference realignment. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. We live in a different world of college football than we did even just 4 years ago. And so you got to look what's best for your program, and negotiations are just that. They have to be good for both sides. So this whole moniker of, well, if you're a great program, just, you know, you just play anyone, anywhere. There's a lot of great programs. It'd be naive, in my opinion, and you can be as cocky as you want as a fan, but it would be just naive and malpractice to be like, yeah, let's just play the 10 best teams in the country every year. Like, that's what we want on our schedule. Let's just play the 10 best teams. I mean, you got to have some, talk to any coach, like behind the scenes, they'll say, yeah, we kind of would rather play some, maybe not the best team every single week. Our guys aren't going to survive doing that. Like if you have a 10-team league, so everyone's equally good, then yeah, so be it. That's different. You have 256 D1 schools. Everyone's schedule's different. Oregon's over here taking lap. All of a sudden, they're playing Portland State. Notre Dame's schedule, 6 of their games are soft. Alabama's playing Mercer in November. Like, so why are you going to be the team to play all these great teams? And I'm not just saying USC. This happens for everyone. When you strategically are like, yeah, we want to play great teams. We want great football teams, but we also know as just being realistic and knowing how the game of football is played. It's not played by dudes on their couch yelling at a screen, including myself. It's played by real young men, and injuries are real. The gridiron is a dangerous place. Like, we need some breaks here. Like, we need to play some teams where we can get ourselves right, get healthy, and get ready for those big time games, and get ready for, oh, guess what? Potentially 4 playoff games. And when we play a team that doesn't even have a conference game, so that's one more game we have to play that they don't have to play. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? So, I mean, you have to, there's some realism to this. And also, if you're Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, and again, these are above the coaches. So anyone blaming Marcus Freeman or blaming Lincoln Riley, like, they have a say. But this comes down to the administration. Like, the coaches can say, this is what I prefer. But it's the ADs and the administration really ultimately making these decisions. But if you're Marcus Freeman saying, yeah, we'll play anytime, anywhere, beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, but then your program denies playing at the beginning of the year, you don't got a leg to stand on. Whatever the reason being, if you can't get out of contracts, which I think is farce, but whatever you believe in, but you can't say that and then have people, I mean, there's literally, I'm seeing people today, media people, using that moniker defending Notre Dame when it's just not true. Okay, anytime, anywhere, let's play week 0. Oh, we meant anytime, anywhere if it's in October, November, based on the last contract, based on how we've always played it. That's what we mean. Anytime, anywhere, as long as it's October in South Bend, November in LA. Yeah, anytime, anywhere. That's kind of what's going on. And Notre Dame has always had their cake and always been able to eat it too. If you look, go through social media, talk to people outside of probably Oregon fans who just love to pile on you. They just love USC more than their own team, love talking about USC more than Oregon. Outside of them, like, everyone else in college football is like, good. USC show Notre Dame the door. We're sick of them being on this pedestal where they can just get whatever they want and get into the CFP and now get this like sweetheart deal that they can get into the CFP. Like, oh, you missed the college football playoff for having a weak schedule, and then you decide to not play your arguably toughest opponent every year? Or at least your biggest brand opponent? We'll see how that plays out. So, anyway, last little rant there. Got some more great stuff for you today. Some recruiting updates we'll look for and get to you guys. And Mekhi Lemon spoke with the media. I was going to be at, but obviously, as you all know, with the birth of my daughter, schedule's crazy right now. So I have some time to jump on here, but trying to travel all over is a little more difficult. So, but I'll probably talk on that as he spoke about his Biletnikoff win, about his All-American honors, and obviously about going to the NFL draft. So, yeah, great stuff. We'll see when the USC announces some more re-signings. I did a big video last night about kind of where the roster sits, so make sure to check that out with their currently 30 players re-signed, their 35-player incoming class, and then obviously they're going to hit the portal and who's left to re-sign. So it kind of breaks down the roster construction and just the numbers. So you can certainly check that out. And obviously when they announce more re-signings, we'll be back with that. So hit that like and subscribe button. Let's keep this thing rolling. We appreciate you guys so much over here at the USC LAFB YouTube channel. And we'll be right back with plenty more. As always, family, fight on. Hey, Trojan family, thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers, they've got live stat updates, they've got a chat that you can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose J.D. Maiava in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USC LAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in $10, they'll match you that $10. So now you're sitting at $20 to play with. But also right now, for any new users, No deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free. Go make a deposit. Use USC LAFB. And now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family. And when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.
Happy holidays. Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a happy holiday. If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.